Welcome to Vermont Today. I'm Terry Gerolman, and my guest today is Paul Hood. Paul is a 21-year resident of Burlington. The first question that I had while you were talking, how did you happen to choose the Marine Corps?
Well, I was 17 years old. I wanted to become a man. I wanted to join the French Foreign Legion, except that I couldn't figure out how I would do that as a 17-year-old. And I decided to volunteer in the toughest outfit that I knew of. And as a matter of fact, the outfit that I joined was called Carlson's Raider Battalion. It was formed of the organization that I got put in, the unit that I got put in was a very tough group of Marine guerrillas who had fought from Guadalcanal on through to Okinawa, and tough bunch. They didn't take prisoners, I later discovered. But anyway, I wanted to grow up.
So it was official government policy not to take prisoners at that time?
No, it was not official government policy, because at that point we were observing, by and large, the Geneva Convention. But I joined an outfit. I mean, I didn't mention this in my story, but when I got on that first day when we got up to the line, they brought two Japanese prisoners back, and the sergeant assigned some guy. He says, take these guys to the rear echelon, which I knew to be 3 or 4 miles from there, and be back in 5 minutes. And I said to somebody, how could that be possible? 5 minutes to the rear echelon? It took us hours to get here. He said, well, that means shoot them. So I joined an outfit that had a history of killing prisoners.
Your sergeant effectively ordered the soldiers
yeah,
to murder?
he did. But again, it was in code, you know, take them back and just be back in 5 minutes. So, yeah.
These were unarmed, defenseless prisoners who had surrendered.
Who had surrendered, absolutely.
And the American Army was murdering them.
No, in this case, the American Marine Corps was murdering them.
It's the same thing. That's part of the Army, part of the military.
It's part of the military, yes. I sound as if I have some pride in the Marine Corps. And, you know, I've still got, in spite of what my life has led me to, I still have a kind of fidelity to the Marine Corps. I was a murderer. That's what I learned to do at Paris Island and Camp Lejeune. And yet I still find within myself that when I meet a fellow Marine, you know, we talk about the good old days. The good old days. Huh. Well, anyway, that's another subject. I feel embarrassed. I remember going on a trip, a peace trip to Japan in 1981, and visiting the mayors and dignitaries from both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And at Nagasaki, I talked with the mayor and I said, I want to personally share something with you. And I said, I think that I understand the case that can be made that we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, the first nuclear bomb. Although I think it could have been dropped on an uninhabited island, and I believe that the Japanese would have gotten the point. And then I said 3 days later, and we were back on Guam training after the end of the Okinawan campaign, training for the landing in Japan that fall or the next spring. And I said, but to drop the second bomb on Nagasaki, I said, that cannot in any way be accounted for. And he said, you're the first person who's ever apologized to us in Nagasaki. And I feel that very, very strongly, that we did it for political reasons, we did it for technological reasons of wanting to know what a slightly different kind of nuclear bomb would do to a city full of human beings.
I was talking to a Vietnam War veteran recently, and he said that he thought that killing is addictive. And once you start killing people, in his experience, the soldiers he knew in Vietnam, they wanted to do more killing. And the addiction was so strong that they didn't care who they killed, even if it was themselves who got killed. It was just, like you describe, a rampage. And it endured to the point where they would re-enlist so they could stay in Vietnam and kill more people. Is that your experience? When you went on that rampage, did you kill civilians, unarmed people?
I didn't knowingly kill any civilians, which is to say, if something moved, I shot it. So there may have been civilians. I did not knowingly kill any civilians, which I'm not saying to give myself any credit. But I think for me, during that week following my first experience, I certainly was in an addictive mode of just absolute rage. In fact, when I believed that they were monsters. I believed all the propaganda. When this guy bled to death in my arms, I thought it's true. They're not human beings, they're monsters. And that's what I thought during that week. When we went up to Japan, after the nuclear bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we went up to Japan, landed by this very same plan that we would have landed if it had been a combat landing, and it would have been murder if we had done that invasion of the Japanese islands. All these interlocked machine gun nests covering, it would have been deadly to land where we did land, and there wasn't a sound from anyone in that landing. But in those first days, and I was there for a year and a half at the end of the war, we were amazed to find the humanity of the Japanese people. And in fact, one family who'd lost a son on Okinawa took me in for about a year of the time I was there and just shared their home and their hospitality with me. And I was just, one of the strange after effects of the war for me was to realize that no people are monsters. No people lack all the qualities of being human beings. And of course today we say, well, the terrorists, they're inhuman, they're crazy. They're no crazier than we are, no more inhumane than we are, no more torturous than we are presently. So I lost my train of thought.
The young woman, the first dead person you saw was a beautiful young woman laying naked by the side of the road. Was she a monster?
No. And even then, she was a sweet young, just pure-looking child. But I guess and I would never have, I don't think I would have ever knowingly shot a civilian, but I don't know. I don't think I did. But no, and I don't believe, I will never believe again. But what happened was I felt betrayed by my religion, which was lukewarm Protestantism, of saying that, yes, it's all right to go and kill under these circumstances because you have been threatened. And my government certainly pulled out all the stops during the war years, during my high school years. We had so much propaganda in one way or another, movies and everything, depicting the Japanese as inhuman. So I feel, I have some very strong feelings about my country, and it's particularly now we've declared continuing war, continuing murder, torture, seizing other people's land and property, control. I mean, don't get me off on that subject. I really feel, and I wore a red, white, and blue tie today. You know that? I don't usually wear red, white, and blue, but I want to say that I want my country to live up to its highest good as a beacon of refuge in the world, as a healing country, as a country that supports other people in their lives instead of raining bombs on them and so on. why don't we take this kind of money that we're squandering for profit of a certain small group of people or control of oil, and why don't we share with the rest of the world? I wear the red, white, and blue in the hope that our country can become what it can be, to use the old advertising lingo, be all you can be. Let our country be all it can be and a force for good in the world.